All right, welcome back to It's Not a Sport, Season 2, Episode 16. This week, in terms of news, it was kind of light, and we actually didn't get kind of the juicy, meaty stuff until yesterday, actually. But before we get into all that, let me make some announcements. So, first things first, next week's show, which will be June 7th, is when E3 kind of officially starts. So we're moving into somewhat, the next 2 weeks will be basically nothing but kind of E3 coverage and just news. This year I decided not to attend because I want to attend PAX and go just attend something different. But last year I did attend, and it was super fun, and it's a super fun conference to just go to. And it was really somewhat kind of overwhelming. So, this week, June 7th, will be the day of our show, is when I believe EA has their press conference, and then throughout that weekend is basically more press conferences after press conferences after press conferences. So, that show will be our prediction show, essentially, and then after that we'll cover all the E3 news, so look forward to that. Alright, now what we'll be talking about today is we'll go over basic news, some things, and then I want to talk about esports organizations, because as much as I don't like Fortnite, I've said in the past, its failure in the esports scene, in my opinion, has really brought a different type of light to esports as a part of the industry, even though I think the gaming industry as a whole is going through a very significant change. So, let's get right into the esports news. LCS and LECS and LCK are all on break still after MSI, so they're not really playing. There's nothing new. I believe maybe LPL has started playing. Nope, they have not. So yeah, all League of Legends leagues are essentially on break until the start of summer split, which should be probably next week or the week after, I believe. I know that as at the time of recording this, LCS Academy games are going on. So if you're willing to go see what's up with those and the Academy teams, go for it. But we can, however, cover what we were covering last week, which was the college championship. So, in the semifinals, Maryville University 3-1, University of Illinois, and University of Western Ontario 3-2 UC Irving. They went on to the finals, which Marville University won, and they 3-0'd University of Western Ontario. So congratulations to University of Marville. They earned it, essentially. In the Overwatch League, San Francisco Shocks is in first place, followed by Vancouver, then London, then Los Angeles Gladiators, New York, Dallas, Hangzhou Spark, Shanghai Dragon, and then the Cutoff, and then Chengdu Hunters, Seoul Dynasty, Philadelphia Fusion, Atlanta, Boston, Los Angeles Valiants, Toronto, Paris, Guangzhou Chargers, Washington Justice, Florida, and Houston is last. I believe the Overwatch League is also on break. So I believe, yeah, most things, not a whole lot of things in the esports scene except the Fortnite World Cup, which is like every weekend is qualifiers, and they've been having that since like the beginning of this year. And I know because of the whole Tfue controversy, FaZe Banks, which we'll be talking about, FaZe Clan today, and Keemstar are throwing on Fortnite Fridays again, and that's currently happening right now. So if you want to go watch that, that's something to pay attention to. In terms of game releases, Really nothing new whatsoever. It's just, I guess, what you have to look forward to. June 4th, we will have the Elder Scrolls Online Elsewhere expansion. Like I said last week, I believe it is an expansion where dragons are now returning into the game, so it's going to be focused on dragons, much like Skyrim. And it has a new class called the Necromancer. We have Persona Q2 new cinematic Labyrinth, also coming out June 4th. Trover saves the universe, coming out on June 4th. Warhammer Chaos Band coming out on June 4th, and that's about it. And then we have some other games coming out later this June, ending it off with Super Mario Maker 2. So that essentially concludes esports and the games coming out. Let's get into the news. So first things first, more Shadowbringers news for Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers, which early access is later this June, coming out, officially releasing July 2nd. I'm super looking forward to it. It looks a lot of fun. Basically, people who are able to attend the North America Media Conference came out under embargo and were able to talk about the class changes more, show off the skills, show off the builds, show off some of the maps and some of the new systems that they've added. And let me just say, it looks fantastic. I think playing for about since the beginning of this year and at the beginning of Stormblood, I love the direction that they seem to be headed with these classes, where they seem to be streamlining your an AoE combo. So every class will have some sort of AoE combo or more accessibility to AoE, instead of us, pulling big groups and then maybe mashing one button over and over again for certain classes. And they're also then streamlining, so there'll be AoE and then non-AoE. They're streamlining tanks. They're taking away, I think, a ton of skills that I find useless in regards, and they're just adding a lot more power to some of these classes. So there's a shit ton of news on it. If you want me to go over it, please let me know, because I'll be gladly to go over it. But just for my personal interest, I play Summoner, which is in my opinion, it's very fun. I love the class. I love the feel of it, because I want to play casters and I want magic, but I want it also to be fast, and that's kind of Summoner. But it's a very janky class, and it has a 2-minute fucking opener. The pets are annoying to deal with, and it's a lot of micromanagement within the opener, and if you die, you are punished very hard. Essentially, they fixed all that by removing Shadow Flare, by removing Rouse is gone, because they reworked the pets, and the pets are no longer targetable by players or damage, and their skills are now skills that player actions, which means you trigger them. They're adding a new Phoenix, and they're kind of nerfing Dreadward Trance and changing it, and Bahamut, basically making it so less of a 2-minute rotation, less punishable, and looks a lot of fun, and I can't wait to theorycraft with it, and for other people to figure out the new rotations and stuff, and to really try it out, because it looks really fun. Alright, moving on. Microsoft may perhaps put their games on Steam. There's an article saying that they want to put their games on Steam. This isn't really, I guess, that surprising, considered if you look at their business moves and how they've been doing over the years. But they announced the Halo collection that will be coming to the PC will be on Steam, just things like that. So it's good to see that, because I would love to see Gears 4 or Gears 5 on Steam, because no one really likes the Windows Store. So, and a lot of this shit will tie into E3, and now I'm just thinking about all the stuff because like that's probably gonna be a thing at E3, like Gears 5 or something, because since that's supposed to be coming out this year, but there's no release date. But again, we'll save that for next episode. So hopefully that's a thing, and we'll get more Sony games on or not Sony, Microsoft games on PlayStation, and maybe Sony will do the same. So there's a Pokemon news. There's gonna be a Pokemon Direct June 6th, which will talk about the next Pokemon for the Switch, Sword and Shield. Look forward to that. Again, that's just more E3 news, probably one of Nintendo's big selling points for E3 this year. Other than that, we have Pokemon Go Plus, which seems to be like, I didn't read into it too much, but it's probably an addition or some sort of subscription to Pokemon Go already. You have Pokemon Sleep, which is like Pokemon Go, but when you sleep. So it's like playing, like analyzing when you sleep or some shit, and it's like playing Pokemon Go while you sleep. And I don't know, that's really weird. Well, fucking see where that goes. And then we have Pokemon Home, which is basically going to be the new system for trading and exchanging Pokemon on your Switch, much like it was, I forget what it's called, on the 3DS, but essentially preparation for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Alright. So, and other news, which came out yesterday, which is really cool, Death Stranding, a game that has been teased, you know, for years since Kojima left Konami and started his own company. It's the weird game with the baby and Norman Reedus, and you don't really know what the fuck it's about. My interpretation of it is that you are a Amazon delivery man, and you're trying to deliver your packages in a post-apocalyptic world, filled with shadows of some kind. But, you know, who knows? This is Kojima. He made Metal Gear. So, yeah. Anyway, there's a release date for that. And the release date is November 6th. So, it's interesting because that is a PlayStation exclusive. It's November 6th, which means, because people are speculating maybe this will be a title launch for the PS6 or PS5. But it is coming out this year, as it should, to be honest. So we'll see, and as soon as, because we'll see at like Sony's state of play, because Sony's not attending E3 this year, so it's gonna be different than other years. And other news, and this is actually really interesting to me. Call of Duty, Modern Warfare trailer was released yesterday. Now, this is not the original Modern Warfare, which is Call of Duty 4. It's a reimagine, as my friend told me, or essentially a remake. It does have soap in it, but apparently it's not, you know, it's not a remastered or a remake. It's something completely new, so to speak. However, there are some key differences that this game is changing. First off, pardon me, there will be no season pass. This is really new because they've been doing season passes since like Black Ops 2, I believe, which is like 2012, when I was really into Call of Duty, when I was really playing it. So no season passes is really, you know, interesting, right? And I'll get into that for a second, and then after this. The second will be it's cross-platform, which is really nice. And then thirdly and last is supposedly it's supposed to be getting, like, I don't know if this one's true because this doesn't sound like Activision, but it's supposed to get free updates consistently as DLC maybe. So this is something that the community has been asking for a very long time. No season pass, making it cross-platform, and hopefully getting free updates. It seems that they're trying to revive. Now, here's the interesting part about all this. It seems like they're trying to revive Call of Duty, because there's news that this may be the last Call of Duty because honestly, it's a dead franchise. Who wants to pay $60 a year to buy a Call of Duty game when they can play Fortnite for free? You know, so it's going to be interesting what they do, Activision, because this is, it seems like they're kind of putting all their eggs in the basket, trying to rebrand Call of Duty yet again, but not in the sense of we're adding battle royale, we're adding this zombies, we're adding in terms of content there, but in terms of quality and direction and business model. So I'm actually kind of really interested in this Call of Duty Modern Warfare, because Modern Warfare 2, it was my favorite Call of Duty, followed by maybe Black Ops 2, and Modern Warfare 3, I believe, is the most selling history, or most sold Call of Duty game in history. So this reimagine, rebrand it, and kind of, I think they're just trying to take something old and kind of restaple the Call of Duty franchise. Anyway, this comes out October 25th of this year, so it's something to look forward to, and I hope it actually kind of succeeds. Because I do like Call of Duties, but they're the same game over and over again, and I'm not gonna buy and play the same game over and over again. Alright, so can't escape it, it's all around us. Fortnite and its drama. So I want to talk about organizations, but to understand that, let's talk about FaZe Clan first, since they're kind of the ones that have been in the light. With Tfue trying to sue FaZe Clan, getting out of his contract, there's been there was the whole article with or interview with Banks and Keemstar, and now they're he gave away all of the money to throw on Fortnite's tournament and all that. So you can see that FaZe Clan, and if you watch YouTube, they come out with multiple kind of videos over the past of since this news dropped. That's been on the top trending of YouTube. So they've been trying to get good face, and apparently Banks was caught lying or something in the interview, and he's just kind of bullshit, and the community kind of caught him on that. So they're trying to get face as a company. News came out that one of their players is a 12-year-old kid that works for them. This is probably a touchy subject in terms of esports, because esports players have always been proficiently young, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. We saw that with League of Legends in the early days, but never 12 years old. And Fortnite, because it's a game, honestly, probably more to 12-year-olds. This is very touchy. I probably wouldn't employ a 12-year-old. I wouldn't pay him. I would sure let him join my organization. I don't know if they pay him, but I wouldn't. No money involved. You can have the name, and the publicity, but no money involved. So I don't really know what's going on there. Again, this is FaZe Clan. The second thing is that Nick Merckx joined FaZe Clan after leaving 100 Thieves, another organization that I personally don't like their business practices. Apparently, Nick Merckx was promised 5% shares of 100 Thieves by Nadeshot, which he never got. So, he left, and he's pretty pissed about it, and now he's part of FaZe. So, with that out of the way, I was talking to my friends about this, and that's why I want to bring it up in the show. To me, there's two types of esports organizations. There's organizations that play to win. They play the game. They play the games to win. They treat their players right. They treat their players with respect. We see this with TSM, Team Liquid, maybe teams like Golden Guardians, where they're owned by Golden State Warriors. But Team Liquid will be the prime example for what I am saying. Team Liquid has multiple esports teams. They have one in CSGO, they have one in League of Legends, they have it in Fortnite, they have it in Dota 2, Hearthstone, probably, etc. They have multiple esports teams. They also have, there's a video of them showing off their esports like training center, or it's like their esports gym. They built it in like a warehouse in order for players to come practice, have like all the necessities they need, discuss strategy, etc., right? That's good. And we don't see them, and then we see these teams like Team Liquid, of course, winning championships back to back with their League of Legends team, CS:GO team, etc. Now we look at teams like 100 Thieves, right? And this is like pure League of Legends, let's say, all right? So Team Liquid's best team, right? We look at teams like 100 Thieves. We look at like the whole controversy of what they did to I'm forgetting his name. The ADC player last year at 2018 Worlds who replaced Bang. Cody Sung, that's his name. They look what they did with Cody Sung, where they didn't let him play a single game at the World Championship because of some drama that they didn't let the public know about, right? We see just shitty practices like that. Like, what was that about? That was bad communication, what was going on there, essentially. Then we see players like Afromu, who have been, this is kind of somewhat different because, he performed probably really poorly whenever I was watching him in League of Legends, and yet he's still on the team, and he was on the team where Cody Sung wasn't, so I don't know. So again, that's just poor communication, alright? Then we move on to the case with Nick Marks, where he's promised 5%, and, he didn't get that, and essentially he left, and within 4 days he got replaced by this Courage dude. Now, we look at FaZe Clan too. Now, FaZe Clan, if you don't know the history of it, were originally just some Call of Duty clan, which actually turned into an esports org. They are known for their crazy trick shots and stuff throughout Call of Duty, and they eventually became an esports org. And then we see the controversy with them, with this dude Banks kind of getting caught lying or bullshitting whatever by the community, screwing over Tifu with his contract or whatever the fuck, even though there's not enough information. Both sides are probably wrong, and employing 12-year-old kids as part of their clan. So like there's that, right? So they're not, and then we see the primary source, which will be the primary argument. Both of these, the introduction to Courage for 100 Thieves was, I couldn't even watch it. It was 12 minutes long. Or Courage to 100 Thieves, yeah. It was 12 minutes long. It was a long video, sort of like comedic, like welcome to the house. People were saying in the comments it had really office vibes to it. Then we look at the videos that FaZe Clan released within a couple of days after the whole Tifu fiasco and trying to get face, with them doing arm wrestling content, right? Now, this sort of content that they are showing out in the world, that's like top of YouTube, is good. It's good content. I enjoy seeing like players, fuck off in content like that. But if you look at like Team Liquid and TSM compared to that, yes, they do this content every once in a while, but their main focus are the games and the players, right? Where we look at 100 Thieves and FaZe Clan, their main focus seems to be really just how much, publicity and popularity and, money can we make this way. So it's different. One's good for the esports scene, and one's kind of not. And one's good maybe for like popularizing the esports scene, but one's better for the quality of the esports scene. So it's a very interesting situation, which is why like whenever my friends ask me, oh, which organization would you join, I always say like Team Liquid or 100 Thieves, because I want to play for the game. I want to work or do whatever to make the players feel better at the game in order to push esports that way, other than making goofy fuck off content and fucking off my players that way, like 100 Thieves and FaZe Clan somewhat do. again, I'm not saying good. They're either good or bad. It's just different methods of maybe making money and making esports. I think probably a byproduct of why Fades and 100 Thieves operate that way is because one dude's essentially probably running the entire show. And their drives are different. But when one dude's running the entire show, their drives are different. We look at Reginald, who is TSM's owner, and his drive really, you look at like why he makes all these roster changes in league and all that. His drive is to win. You know, he wants TSM to be the best brand. He wants to win the tournaments. You know, so that's why he always makes these like crazy roster changes, and probably one of his worst decisions when he lost double F to Team Liquid. But that's why, you know, he does it, because he wants to win. And he communicates that very well. Same with Team Liquid. You know, if you look at the videos of their owner, I'm forgetting his name. I think it's Jeff, but I don't think that's right. He wants to win. He wants his players to win. He wants his players to feel good. When we look at Nade Shot and Banks, and just from like the stuff that I've seen, they have poor communication. They seem to be the only ones running the show, and their goals are different. It doesn't seem like they want to win. They just want publicity to, you know, be the most famous goofballs of the esports scene. So that's basically all I want to say. It's definitely a topic to look into. I'll be glad to look into it. But yeah, it's really interesting. I think it's also a huge byproduct of just like America as an esports brand, where we don't see this in Chinese organizations or Korean organizations, where they can barely get away with swearing on their stream and stuff like that, and it's very strict, especially like in Korea, and there's like players and organizations. So that's all. That's it for this week's show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to listen to all of our past shows, they're up on our YouTube. If you want to listen to some of our shows, you can follow us on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts. That's it. Follow us on our social media page. It's Not a Sport to You. It's our Instagram. Watch us live on Twitch /Salty Waffles. Each Friday at 7 p.m. Remember, next week it's going to be big because it's the E3 predictions, and this week's probably going to be the announcement of the PlayStation 5 and a lot of changes to the industry, since we are in kind of a very interesting stalemate, and somewhat I think it's time for a change. So tune in next week. Anyway, thank you for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. See you next week.